Now, we're all concerned about the militarisation of China and the threats it poses to Japan, to Taiwan, to the region. It's militarisation of those atolls and reefs in the South China Sea. But did the Home Affairs Department Chief Mike Pezzullo go too far by just using the phrase drums of war in his piece about the threat of China and the threat of conflict in our region?
My view is that it was an honest assessment by him as to usage of words. Let's be very clear. What has China been doing for the last few years? Militarising unoccupied rock atolls and turning it into a military base. They're now incurring or having incursions into Taiwanese airspace. They are ramming Filipino and other fishing vessels in the area, claiming that it's all their territory. They've just launched, as I understand it, 3 fairly significant Navy ships. So this is clearly a country that is not preparing for its own defence, but is possessed of a very aggressive posture in the region. So I think Mr. Pezzullo's words were appropriate in all the circumstances.
Now, when you look at the last 30 or 40 years, it's very clear that the reason we've seen such great economic growth and stability in East Asia is the American military commitment. The reason even China has been able to do so well economically is because of the stability brought to the region by massive American military deployments in Japan, in South Korea, in the Philippines, even their links with us in Australia, of course. Is there any sense that the US is backing off at all, given the increasing wolf warrior diplomacy and military deployments of China? Do we need to see even greater American military investment in our region?
Clearly, we need to see a greater US presence. I think and hope and trust that India will step up to the mark in relation to our quadrilateral arrangements with Japan, India, ourselves and the United States. There has to be a greater focus in this region to ensure that this communist dictatorship, and let's remember we are dealing with a communist dictatorship which is brutal, which is barbaric, has 1 million of its own people in concentration camps, is tearing up an international agreement with the United Kingdom over Hong Kong, that is guilty of forced organ harvesting from house Christians to Falun Gong practitioners, the Tibetans, Mongolians, the Uyghurs, the list goes on. And we do need to take a very strong stance on the international scene with the help of other countries to ensure that this brutal dictatorship is brought to heel.
Now, I've got to get you on 2 other issues quickly. Firstly, we have in India now a terrible situation, but their rate of infection is not yet as high as what we've seen in the US and the UK and parts of Europe last year. We had hundreds of thousands of Australians come in through hotel quarantine from those countries in Europe and North America. Why are we treating Australians in India differently?
Well, we have to be exceptionally careful with those that we allow back into our country to ensure.
That's why we have quarantine. We were very careful with those people from other parts of the world. Why are we being less fair, more careful with people from India?
I'm not sure as to the exact detail on that one, Chris, but let me say I think the Australian people are most appreciative of the fact that we are being careful in relation to international entries. That is why the New Zealand bubble is welcomed, but with countries that have higher rates of infection that might not be able to be as proficient in contact tracing as, let's say, the United States and other countries might be, I think it is appropriate for us to be cautious. But yet again, I think we need to be guided by the officials and the experts in this area to ensure that we protect our nation as much as possible, whilst also being as fair as possible to allow people to come into our country.
Eric Abetz, thanks for joining us. Good luck with your election calling on Saturday night.
Thanks a lot.
Eric Abetz will be part of the Sky News coverage of the Tasmanian election on Saturday night. We ran out of time to even go there. But honestly, what's going on here, right? Where thousands of infected people come into this country through hotel quarantine, get treated from Europe and North America last year. But we don't want to take the risk with Australians from India. Why the difference? I know many of you will applaud the government, but why the difference?